A book said to be forbidden. A book said to have been removed from the Bible. A book said to reveal the hidden story behind angels, giants, and the end of the world.
That is how the Book of Enoch is often introduced. But history tells a more careful and more interesting story.
The first question is not who removed it. The first question is, what is this book? Where did it come from? And how did different religious communities decide what counted as scripture?
In the Bible, Enoch is a brief and mysterious figure. Genesis says that he walked with God and then was no more because God took him. That small detail invited centuries of imagination.
The work now called First Enoch is not a single modern book written at one moment. It is a collection of ancient Jewish writings assembled over time, probably between the 3rd century before Christ and the 1st century before Christ.
So it was not written by the ancient Enoch himself in the ordinary historical sense. Like many ancient works, it speaks in the voice of a revered figure from the past.
And those questions were urgent. The Jewish world of the Second Temple period was full of debate. How does God judge injustice? Why does evil seem powerful? What will happen at the end of history?
First Enoch became one of the major voices in that world.
Its best-known section is the Book of the Watchers. It expands the difficult passage in Genesis chapter 6, where mysterious sons of God and the daughters of humans appear before the flood.
Enoch tells the story in dramatic form. Heavenly beings descend, cross a forbidden boundary, and spread destructive knowledge. Their rebellion becomes part of the book's explanation for violence and corruption on earth.
This is why readers encounter angels, giants, cosmic journeys, and final judgment in Enoch. But these images were not random fantasy. They were ancient Jewish ways of confronting a real moral question. Why does a good world contain so much disorder? That conviction made Enoch influential. It circulated among Jewish communities long before the New Testament was complete.
Then came a discovery that changed the discussion.
In the caves near Qumran, beside the Dead Sea, archaeologists and scholars found fragments of Enoch among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Several manuscripts preserve parts of the work in Aramaic.
This matters because the fragments are ancient physical evidence. They show that Enoch was being copied and read in the Jewish world centuries before later Christian debates about the Bible.
They also correct a common misunderstanding. Enoch was not invented in medieval Europe, and it was not a recent secret uncovered by modern conspiracy theories.
The Qumran evidence does not give us every original page. The manuscripts are fragmentary, but they firmly place Enoch within the literary and religious landscape of Second Temple Judaism.
That is a major historical result. It tells us that ancient Jewish readers had a wider library than the later Hebrew Bible alone.
But wider reading is not the same thing as canon.
A canon is a community's recognized collection of sacred and authoritative books. Different communities can preserve overlapping texts and still draw their boundaries differently.
The Dead Sea Scrolls themselves make that point visible. They contain biblical books, commentaries, community rules, prayers, and other Jewish writings. Finding a text at Qumran does not automatically tell us that every Jewish community treated it as scripture.
Nor should we picture one meeting where a powerful group simply removed Enoch from a finished Bible. The history was longer, more local, and more complex than that.
Jewish scriptural collections developed over generations. Texts were copied, used in worship, debated, translated, and handed down. Agreement grew gradually, and not every community used exactly the same collection.
By the time Rabbinic Judaism took its later shape, First Enoch was not part of the Hebrew Bible. It remained important for understanding ancient Judaism, but it did not become one of the books in that canon.
Early Christians inherited this complicated world. Some Christian writers knew Enoch and valued it. The New Testament letter of Jude refers to a prophecy associated with Enoch, showing that the tradition was known in early Christian circles.
Yet knowing a work quoting a tradition or finding an idea useful is not identical to declaring that entire work canonical.
Christian canons also developed differently in different places. Churches did not all preserve the same boundaries, the same languages, or the same lists at the same speed.
That is not evidence of a secret suppression. It is a reminder that books survive when communities keep copying, reading, and teaching them.
And one community did exactly that.
The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church preserved First Enoch as part of its biblical canon. For that tradition, the Book of Enoch is not an abandoned curiosity. It is scripture.
This fact is essential. Saying that Enoch is not in the Bible is too simple. It is not in most Jewish, Protestant, Catholic, and Eastern Orthodox biblical canons, but it is included in the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition.
The real history is not a story of one universal Bible from which a book vanished. It is a story of communities, languages, manuscripts, and traditions, making different judgments over time.
So why does Enoch feel so powerful to modern readers?
Partly because it fills in spaces. Genesis gives only a few lines about Enoch and the strange beings before the flood. Enoch builds an entire moral universe around those lines.
It gives names to heavenly rebels. It imagines journeys through the heavens. It speaks of judgment, not only for human rulers, but for cosmic powers.
These images can sound unfamiliar to readers shaped only by the later biblical canon. But they were part of the intellectual atmosphere in which many Jews of the Second Temple period thought about angels, evil, resurrection, and the future.
That does not mean every later Jewish or Christian belief came from Enoch. Historical influence is rarely that simple. Similar ideas can arise from shared scriptural traditions, shared questions, and a common cultural world.
It also does not mean that Enoch unlocks a hidden code behind Christianity. The historical value of the book is context, not a shortcut around careful evidence.
We should be equally careful with the term fallen angels. The Book of the Watchers is influential, but ancient readers did not all interpret Genesis chapter 6 in exactly the same way.
Some later Jewish and Christian traditions emphasized angels. Others interpreted the passage differently. A responsible reading lets Enoch speak for itself without forcing every tradition to agree with it.
The same caution applies to the word forbidden. A text can be non-canonical in one community and sacred in another. It can be historically important without carrying the same authority for every believer.
That distinction protects both history and faith.
History asks when a text was written, in what language, where it was copied, and how communities used it. It can examine Qumran fragments, translations, and the record of transmission.
Faith asks how a community receives scripture, how it reads tradition, and what authority it gives to a text. History can describe those decisions, but it cannot force a religious conclusion.
When we keep those questions separate, the Book of Enoch becomes more fascinating, not less.
It is an ancient Jewish collection. It was read before the time of Jesus. It was copied at Qumran. It shaped the imagination of parts of the Jewish and early Christian world.
It was not included in the Hebrew Bible. It did not become canonical in most Christian traditions. And it remains canonical in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church.
None of those statements requires a conspiracy. Together, they reveal something more human and more remarkable. Sacred texts travel through real communities, fragile manuscripts, changing languages, and long memories.
The Book of Enoch was never simply lost. It was preserved in some places, debated in others, and rediscovered in a new light when the Dead Sea Scrolls returned its ancient fragments to the world.
That is the disciplined conclusion. Enoch does not need to be called secret in order to be important. Its real significance is that it lets us hear a powerful voice from the Jewish world before and around the beginnings of Christianity. And when we approach that voice with patience, evidence, and respect for different traditions, the question changes. Not, what was hidden from us? But, what can this ancient book honestly teach us about the world that produced it?